Hey guys, and welcome to another pack making tutorial. Today I'm going to be talking about shading for the first time. And shading, really important thing in pack making. Almost all the items you're ever going to make are going to involve shading. So that's what we're going to be doing right now. So I'm going to go Control R, and this is to resize my canvas. I'm going to do 32x by 32x. And I'm going to zoom in by Control and scroll wheel. Control A and delete everything. And to showcase shading, I'm going to be using just an ender pearl texture. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to press O twice. This will get me to my shapes tool, which is down here, and I'm just going to make a sphere or an ellipse. And as you can see here, when holding shift, it makes a perfect circle. If I don't hold shift, I can do all kinds of things, but if I hold shift, it makes a perfect circle. And I've made this, and this doesn't look like a pearl yet, so I'm going to disable anti-aliasing. And now I'm going to make the brush width smaller. And as you can see, this increases the size. I'm going to choose probably here looks pretty good, and I'm just going to fill this all in. So I have my pearl shape now. So for this pearl shape, I'm going to choose two colors. I'm going to either take from my palette, which we spoke about last episode, or I'm just going to choose two colors just to practice shading now. So I'm just going to choose two colors here. If you hold shift, you can lock to a grid to make sure you get the same hue. And I'm just going to make this one darker and slightly towards green, maybe like this. And now I'm going to go to the magic wand tool, select my circle, press G and make a gradient while holding shift, and make a nice gradient. Bear in mind, what I do today can be applied to almost all forms of items, but a pearl is pretty much only shading. You always want it to be a circle, so let's talk about shading today. So now I've got a gradient. Simplest thing we can do, which we will almost always be doing, is effects, selection, outline selection, making an outline. Like this. I'm going to keep it size 2, and a tip I have with size 2 with this anti-aliasing is to delete the outermost anti-aliasing. So as you can see here, we have the inner anti-aliasing and the outer one. I'm just going to shift select on the outer one, and if it selects too much, just turn your tolerance down, and I'm going to delete this. And then I'm going to select here and the outside and hold Control and select the inside, and now I've selected the inverse, and I'm going to Control I. What Control I does is it just inverts your selection. So now I have the line selected, I can just delete this layer, and now I have the selection of the outline of this circle. I'm going to do Control Shift M to open curves, or it can be found in the adjustments panel, and I'm just going to come down here and I'm going to start making it darker until I feel I'm at a good darkness. I like this. So now that I've got this, what you can do is you can make another outline, or you can do a few other things like bevel. Today I'm not going to be talking about bevel just yet, because bevel is quite a touchy subject and there are lots of things to talk about with that. So I'm just going to create a new layer here, and I'm going to go selection, effects, selection, outline selection, and I'll make it 1. And a different way we can do this is, now that we've got this outline, we can just lower the opacity. And as you can see here, this is quite a cool pearl. So there we go, I have a nice pearl design. Alright, so to add, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go here, I'm going to Control I, and this will select our entire thing, and then make a new layer. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to press B, and this takes us to the brush tool. I haven't really spoken about the brush tool yet. Basically, I can draw with it. And what I'm going to do is disable anti-aliasing, so now it makes blurriness. And I'm going to make my color black, or a dark color at least, and I'm going to turn down my hardness, and I'm going to increase my brush width until it's about the same size as the sphere. There we go. And now all I'm going to do is go around the edge lightly, like this. Doesn't matter if it's too dark, because what we're going to be doing is we're going to go to the layer, and we're going to go down, and we're going to look for one that either looks really cool to you. None of these look specifically interesting, so I'm just going to go multiply, and I'm just going to turn down the opacity. So I think that adds a good bit of shading to the pearl. Now I'm going to do the same thing but with white. So I'm going to flatten my image by doing Control Shift F, and what this does is it just merges all the layers on the right hand side. I'm going to select the outside with the magic wand tool, Control I, and now I have my pearl selected. I'm going to make a new layer, press B, and instead of this being black, I'm going to make it white. This is by turning down the saturation and making the brightness all the way up. And I'm probably just going to select right there I'm probably just going to select about right here. And now I'm going to double click this. And with most colors, you want to be using overlay with white. As you can see, this makes it quite a nice color. So we can adjust here's before and here's after. So I'm going to say about there is quite good. Be a bit brighter. And there we go. I've got a cool bit of shading here. The last thing I'm going to show is once you have your thing selected, I'm going to press M and M again. And this makes it so I can move the selection. And I'm going to move the selection to about here. I'm going to control I. And now I can do Control Shift U to go to hue and saturation, or use curves, and I can just make this a bit darker. And as you can see, I've made a pretty nice ender pearl here. I think it looks pretty nice. And now if you want to change the color, you can do Control Shift U. And I can change the hue and make it any color I want. Or I can go to the saturation and change the saturation to be whatever I want. Make it black and white. That looks really silly, but really just a little bit is nice to add. And then changing the color. So I put it on this nice red. I like this color a lot. And then finally, what I usually do with my textures is I do Control Shift M to get to my curves. I'm going to reset it. And now I just mess around with this a little bit just to make the colors how I want them to be. A bit more contrast like that. Maybe this a bit more. And there we go. That looks pretty good. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this small little video. This is a bit shorter than my other ones. I'm just showing basic shading techniques for you to get started with. I'm going to be doing a lot more advanced stuff in the future. Down to techniques that I only recently just learned, and stuff that very few other pack makers are even using. Rather than me making lots of packs and releasing them, I'd rather make tutorials so anyone can make any texture pack they want, because it's actually really easy to do texture packs. And texture packs are really easy to make, and I think everyone should have the ability to be able to create them for themselves. So I hope you enjoy. Please subscribe. It helps me a lot to see more videos. I'm probably going to be doing over 25 videos in this series. So hope you enjoyed this small little video about ender pearls and mainly shading. I'll see you next time. Goodbye.